You know, if I had a nickel for every time a female country artist released a divorce album in 2021, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right? Now, divorce and breakup albums are pretty common in country music. Sometimes you can get something truly special, or you make the equivalent to narcissistic behavior. Often in the breakup spectrum, especially in country, you get a similar narrative done over and over, and it just gets really old after a while. 29 the EP was definitely on the more positive spectrum. I didn't review it in February because I don't really review EPs, but it definitely was among my favorite mainstream projects released this year. So when a full-length project was announced, I was actually kind of nervous. 29 the EP was such a tight and cohesive narratively driven project that extending the narrative is often a very risky move. Filler writing can drag down your narrative and message real quick, and the promotional material, while frankly really good, didn't fit that well in my head in the grand scheme of 29. I mean, we all knew Carly had no way in hell of topping the greatest divorce album ever made, but I didn't want 29 to become stale, especially when comparing it to her past 2 projects, which were very mixed bags of really good neo-traditional country music and really generic pop. But thankfully, I can say that didn't happen. 29 Written in Stone is such a strong return to form, and I feel even stronger on this record than I did on the EP. I've said previously on the channel in brief moments that Carly Pearce is capable of blending the lines of modern trending elements you find in your radio country with strong traditionalism. And every song on this project just emphasizes that opinion so much further. The hooks are catchier, the delivery is more emotional than it ever was in her entire career, and narratively, despite having a few holes and gaps in its story, is still pretty powerful, and can really bring out that emotional appeal I like to see in records such as this. Almost all the new songs are better than the original 7 songs from the EP. We open up with the very sassy and soulful Diamondback, which takes place during the moving out portion of a divorce, saying this dude can get a lot of things they share together, but he isn't getting the diamond ring back. The one thing he gave to her. It's such a petty track you'd honestly consider it a diss track towards Michael Ray. I love the driving rhythm of this track. This anger in Carly's voice really emphasizes the petty nature of the song. Easygoing is on the weaker end of the good songs with its almost choppy verses, but the pre-chorus and chorus make up for that, and the strong presence of the fiddle is greatly appreciated. The solo section of the song is pretty fantastic, but I gotta be honest, it doesn't really make much sense for it being here. It's not a waste of time, but this much instrumental magic should go on a different song. Dear Miss Loretta, while quite irresistible, is another one of those songs that reference much better music, and I'm not gonna be less judgmental just because it's Carly Pearce, but don't let that turn you away from this track because it's still really good. Next Girl is such a strong radio single and blends the lines of pettiness and sincerity really well. I just wish its percussion wasn't as awkward as it is. Should Have Known Better is one of the songs off the original EP that I could have lived without. It's a tad bit too repetitive, and lyrically, it's not the strongest on here. But that fact is completely made up for by the following title track, 29. And side note, I love how we got a song called 29, 23, and 30, and we're also due for a song called 22 later this fall. I just really love that, and if I had to pick my favorite, come on, 30 is obviously the best one, but 29 is really close. Talk about such a beautiful yet tragic song, all about living life to the fullest before you're 30, and how she couldn't do any of this because of the divorce. Almost every lyric in this song is smart, from wanting to live it up, to never going to be able to live it down, to youth is wasted on the young, to question if she wasted hers. 29 is easily a Song of the Year contender. Just remember 30 is better numerically and objectively. And we need more Ashley McBride collabs, because Never Wanted to Be That Girl is one of those duets where the team up is practically a perfect match. Their voices blend so smoothly, and their dynamic is really strong. I just wish we got to see more chemistry similar to Kelsey and Halsey on The Other Girl. I'm really glad it's going to be a single. I just wish the sexist radio executives give this airplay because it deserves it. The next song, You're Drinking My Problem, shows Carly's willingness to shake things up musically with this funky and mid-tempo track. I find the bouncy feel of it really engaging. Liability and Messy are easily my least favorite tracks and are clear leftovers from the last album's era. They're not bad, but I don't think they're really that necessary, and definitely don't add much to this story that's worthwhile. Show Me Round is one of the more passionate tracks with its emotional delivery. I just wish instrumentally it was just as strong as other songs, because there is not much going on in this track, and it really annoys me because this song has just as much potential as the stronger tracks on here. Day One is honestly a pretty uplifting track that gives me me wake up in the morning vibes. I think this should have been the end of the album still. It represents a point of not moving on, but willingness to move forward, which wraps up a lot of the themes presented on the entire album. All the Whiskey in the World is a pretty generic drinking song, not gonna lie, but at least it's actually entertaining, unlike all the modern country songs with whiskey in their title. Mean It this time, while not as strong as a conclusion as Day One is, still wraps up everything this album set up. And rather than having a knock it all back down kind of ending, 29 takes a more mature route in saying all the pain she has endured has encouraged her to make sure any love from here on out will be long lasting. The tone of the song is a little too similar to the other tracks, and I think a shift, whether it be brighter or darker, would have made it stand out much more than the other ones. But beyond that, I don't have much of any real complaints. In fact, I don't have many issues with the entire album, and those that I do are just really my personal taste. I think narratively it struggles a little bit, suffering from a similar issue Sour had with the overwhelming pettiness of it all. I give Sour a pass because it's literally high school romance in a nutshell. Here, I'd wish for a more rational balance of pettiness and sincerity, like I Never Wanted to Be That Girl and Day One. It feels like she directs all her anger at her husband for so long, I begin to question certain aspects of what's going on. Writing wise, it's not the strongest. 29 is a clear standout, but there's not much of a lyrical signature I like to see on albums on the level of this. It's pretty self-explanatory with its dialogue, it just doesn't drag it out like some other mainstream albums, including her own. Production might be my biggest issue with the record. It's pretty bland, the percussion is way too loud on the entire album, and it made enjoying certain songs a little difficult, especially for the weaker tracks. Beats 2 and 4 are really annoying on the tracks where there's practically nothing else going on besides the bass, but beyond any of that, I got nothing. Carly Pearce has really come into her own with this record and is now producing the best music of her entire career. It's a little sad it took a tragic point in order to make that happen though. But in the end, the best music is made from suffering, I guess. Rating wise, I'm feeling a light 8 out of 10 on 29 written in stone. Starcrossed wishes it could have the same powerful emotions of 29. A much better and fleshed out Divorce album in every way.